In this video, we'll go through the process of creating a roughness map. Now, what is a roughness map? Well, it basically describes the surface irregularities and sort of micro details that causes light to diffuse and reflect in different ways. So, for instance, if I just go to this left tile wall slash floor here, you can see as I move around it, the default light evenly spreads across the albedo map. Doesn't really look realistic, but hey. Now, if I go to the right side, if I zoom in a little bit, now if I move and as the default light rotates around it, you'll see that there are these sort of small microsurface details that are appearing. So for instance, we've got a little bit of, like, say, dirt marks or even some slight sort of footprints that are appearing throughout this texture. Now, the roughness map really allows you to add these great amount of details and essentially tell a story with it. When it comes to creating your roughness map, you need to really have a look at surface materials and how light reflects off it and how it bounces off. So for instance, a brand new tile, for instance, will be very smooth. So you would make sure that it would look smooth in the texture maps. But if it's a tile that's been around for, say, a couple of months, you know, maybe it's in a bathroom, for instance, there might have been some steam, some slight sort of dirt coming across it, or maybe, for instance, if you've been cleaning the tiles with, say, a cloth, for instance, you'll see the sort of micro details as the light reflects off it, say, like the, you know, the cloth strokes, for instance, or maybe some dirt or grime that will just only appear when you rotate the light around it or as you look around the object. So when it comes to your roughness map, there's a really great attention to detail you need to add, which helps to almost tell a story. For instance, with the surface, you know, it could say how long it's been there for or how new it is, for instance. So really quick, I want to show a quick example of it. This is from the Marmoset tutorials. You can see here the albedo map and the roughness map here helps to describe what is rough and what isn't. With the roughness map, it works in grayscales. So black means that it's a smooth object. White means that it's quite rough. So for instance, the rubber for instance, will be quite a rough surface. Maybe it's been worn out for a while. But the metal, for instance, will be very smooth. So you can see that it's quite black here, which helps to kind of really make it shine, as opposed to the rubber, for instance, might not shine as much. So really quickly, we're going to go into Photoshop, and you can see here that I've already made one earlier with the roughness map, and I'll quickly show you how I've created this right now. So I have my albedo map here, just a basic tile. I've duplicated this group here, and I've got the tile set right here. So for instance, I need to look at this object and think, okay, what's going to be reflective, what's going to be smooth, and what's going to be rough. So for instance, the grout, for instance, is not really going to be very shiny, for instance. So I would kind of go in and make the grout, for instance, white. So you can see here that some parts of the tiles are selected as well. So I'm going to go in, deselect those. Make sure I'm cleaning up my texture map really quick. For now, that would be fine. Okay, so I have my grout selected, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to image, adjustments, brightness and contrast. Now I know this is going to be very rough, for instance, because light's not going to reflect off it as much. So I'm going to make this white, like so. May even increase the contrast as well. So for instance, I think that'll be okay for the roughness element for the grout. I'm just going to invert my selection, so now I've got the tile selected. Now the tiles, for instance, I need to start thinking if they're going to be smooth or not. And I think for these tiles, they're going to be relatively smooth. So again, I'll probably go to image, adjustments, brightness and contrast, and make these darker. Again, darker means that the material or surface material is smooth, white meaning that it's rough. So I'm not going to make it too smooth because the default albedo kind of looks like it's a bit worn out, for instance. So I'll probably go around, say, here. Might increase the contrast a little bit. Perfect. So now I've got a really simple roughness map created for this tile set. Second thing you might want to do is add in some sort of the micro details or surface irregularities. So you need to think, okay, for instance, with this tile set, what would be on there that would cause the light to sort of reflect differently? So for instance, I have this dirt texture here, which again, I just go into image adjustments, brightness and contrast. I'm going to make this white, for instance, kind of increase or decrease the contrast. Then I brought it over into here to something like this. Made to quickly just make this white again. So something like that, for instance, would be quite good. And then what I'll do is I'm just going to quickly select certain parts of the... I'm just going to move them across slightly, just to kind of evenly spread them across. Let's change the tolerance really quick to about 15. So let's select some just small areas. Oops. Just going to move them across around the tile. This does require a keen eye of detail as well, so you've got to think, okay, how would say fingerprints, etc. Look on a surface material. So you may need to, in real life, just kind of observe objects, for instance, just to kind of understand how light reflects off it and how sort of these smaller sort of details would appear in real life. I think for now, that'll be okay for now. And one last thing I might want to do, again, you can add in some more details if you so wish. So for instance, I've got this image of some footprints. So I made it black and white, for instance. And what I'm going to do really quick is just make a new layer. Quickly rename my layers. It's always important to rename your layers. This is going to be, say, the footprint area. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the clone stamp tool. So basically what it does is when you hold on Alt, you can click any area of an image, like so. And it basically allows me to duplicate it across. Now I have my opacity down to 39%, so I can kind of like gently put this across. There's a reason why I've done a separate layer for it, is because I'm going to use this layer just to get the reference image, and this will be the actual layer where the footprints will be. So I'm just going to kind of go across and, oops, I always make that mistake when I'm in the incorrect layer. That's the one thing I always keep forgetting, is that I'm in absolutely the wrong layer, so I'm like, I have to make sure to switch over every time. I do it a few times. There we go. Just going to put some slight rotations to it, because again I might think like, okay, someone might have walked on this surface in a different angle, for instance, which makes a lot of sense. Because again, you don't know how many people might have walked in and out of this bathroom or whatever it might be in different directions. Just going to do one more, and then I think I'll be okay with it. Okay, for now I think I'll be happy with that. So I'll just delete the original one. And what I'll do here is I can play around with the layer options. So I'm going to see what works and what doesn't work. So for instance, the screen one is quite good. I think color judge is quite good. I might just decrease the Although I might just go to image adjustments and just kind of whack up the contrast a little bit. Actually, that did a very good job, actually, the lighting one. So I think now I'm quite happy with this. I might just kind of put this, put the dirt on a different layer option as well. So maybe like an overlay, for instance. So now what I want to do is I'm going to export this out. So file, save as. Make sure it's a tagger. And I'm going to save it. And I want to call it the roughness map. But I'll call this one roughness map 2 just to kind of save time. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to Maya. So on here, make sure you go to, say, the hypershade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the PBR shader, which I believe it's PBS1, which is for this one here. Now what we'll make sure to do is to click on Use Roughness Map, then scroll down to where it says Textures, Roughness Map, and then load in your roughness map. So I'm going to load that one in there. So now as I rotate around it, you can see now that it had these really nice details across my roughness map, which really does bring this texture to life.